Hello everybody, welcome to my final presentation for business policy. Last time we were here, we talked about years 10 through 14, and this time we'll be talking about years 15 to 20. For total revenue, it's went up significantly, except for year 19 there because I lost a little bit of market share. And for image rating, I maxed it out at 100, which is important in the early years because once you max it out, you can't really lose it, which is nice. For stock price and EPS, it's also went up significantly throughout the years, except for year 17 where I bought a bunch of production equipment, which lowered my EPS by quite a bit. For market share, you can see they're kind of even throughout. In year 18 and 19 there, I lost a little bit in internet and wholesale because I lost some celebrity bids. For private label, I maxed out 18.2%, which is the cap in my industry, except for year 19 and 20 where I can only produce enough for 16% market share. Last time, I didn't do any stock repurchases or dividends. However, now I've done a lot, especially in those later years. And my philosophy on dividends was I like consistent dividends instead of really big and inconsistent dividends. So usually my dividends were around $1 per year or $2 in the later years. And ultimately, I think this helped me win the game because it helped me increase my ROE, which some of my other competitors couldn't meet the investor expectation scores. For debt levels, as you can see, the previously mentioned loans are there, but in year 15, I maxed out a loan, which is why our credit rating in year 15, 16 is slightly lower. However, in years 17, 18, 19, and 20, I was able to repay that loan off because I always had enough money. For our production facilities and regional sales, last time I was here, we talked about expanding into Latin America. I did that, but I also expanded into Europe, Africa, because I just wanted to avoid exchange rates and whatnot and shipping costs. In year 20, our ending production facility space was 5,000 in North America, Europe, Africa, and Latin America, with Asia Pacific being 6,000. I should also note that my production equipment was also maxed out for all those facilities. In terms of distribution and sales, they're pretty even between regions, except for Latin America in some spots because their exchange rates kind of suck. And I should also note again, in year 18, I lost a bit of market share due to a lack of celebrities. Even though I maxed out my bids at 30,000, for some reason, I just guess they have favorites because I didn't win the bids. Another thing was I lost an insignificant amount of private label share because I simply couldn't produce enough shoes. But I did not lose any bids. For lessons learned, in later years, stock purchases and dividends are crucial. You can't really make more facility space or more production equipment in those later years because you're never going to see return on investment. So doing stock purchases and dividends kind of give you instant results, which is nice. And another thing I learned from a colleague was best practice training is actually cheaper and more efficient than the Sigma quality program. So when I first started off, I did a $5 Sigma quality program, but now I only do 10 to 40 cents. And my best practice training is around $4,000 to $5,000 between regions. And then lastly, at a certain point, you can't really expand market share. And so theoretically, in real life, I would increase my prices because my shoes are in so much demand. But I wanted to be the Arizona iced tea where I never changed my prices, and therefore it reflected that. For insights for my past self, basically, if I played this game again, I was told at the beginning that the projections are inaccurate and I shouldn't really pay attention to them. However, this is pretty false. In my opinion, I think you should max out the projections as much as you possibly can. And even though there are inaccuracies, it's important to do that because then you'll meet the expectations or be above the expectations and you'll win the game like I did. For a private label, people made it sound really insignificant and like it was supposed to lose money. I think it's actually one of the most significant sectors and it actually probably makes the most money, in my opinion, which probably helped me win the game. I know a lot of these people in my group, there's around 12 people. Half of them didn't even do private label, and that's probably why they lost. And then finally, just because profit margins are bad in one year doesn't mean they'll stabilize in the next. I remember in the beginning years, my profit margins were around 5%, and I was really concerned because it wasn't meeting my strategic vision. However, in the later years, it's around 30% now, which has met my strategic vision, which is nice. And then finally, I just want to talk about the fact that I made the biggest comeback of all time. When we started this game, I was in 12th place. However, every year I've slowly increased up every place, and now I'm in first place as heels and toe shoes. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.